I'm Pete Nowlen, and I'm really pleased to be coming up to conduct the Veridian Symphony next month. It's a great honor. I love the program, and I'm really looking forward to it. I have been in the Sacramento area for going on 30 years as a performer. I'm a French hornist or hornist, depending on who you ask what's correct. I moved here from Chicago in 1987. I had studied in Chicago at Northwestern and DePaul universities and won a position in the Sacramento Symphony, which at that time was a full-time orchestra, and moved here very happy to arrive in California at that point after 7 years of Chicago winters, and settled in 1987, and I've never looked back. It's been a great place for me. I have had a really wonderful and diverse career here, playing, of course, a lot here and in the Bay Area, where I have played often with the San Francisco Symphony and the San Francisco Opera Orchestra, San Francisco Ballet Orchestra, and the other orchestras in the Bay Area, and here in the Sacramento Symphony, Sacramento Opera Orchestra, now the Sacramento Philharmonic, and with the other orchestras in the Central Valley. So I'm now the concert band director, horn instructor, and I teach chamber music at UC Davis. Now I've been on the Sac State faculty since the second year that I was in Sacramento, and there I teach horn, chamber music. I was subbed for almost 2 years conducting the orchestra around the early 2000s. And I teach a music appreciation class and a freshman seminar class. So I have this wonderfully diverse career just between the two universities. But beyond that, I also now lead a chamber choir. I'm the artistic director of Camerata, California. I also direct the Rancho Cordova Civic Light Orchestra, which is a new orchestra about 2 years old, that is really fulfilling something that's very important to me in my career, which is to support music making by adult amateur performers. I think there should be a place for everyone in the world to play who wants to play. The civic leadership of Rancho Cordova, a young city, has decided to work proactively to build an infrastructure in the arts. So they actually support the orchestra, they support a concert band, they support arts in general very substantially. I run a chamber music workshop in the summer, the CalCap Chamber Music Workshop, that also caters to both students and adult amateur performers. In fact, John Fluter, who played in the very first performance of the Yuba Sutter Youth Orchestra, which I conducted, and then came to Sac State as a clarinetist and violist, has been a participant at the CalCap Chamber Music Workshop. He is a beautiful spirit and a beautiful soul. So I have all these different organizations that I direct. I'm the artistic advisor at Music in the Mountains. I've played in the Music in the Mountains Orchestra since 1989. I actually grew up in Montana, and I was very fortunate that there were very strong, and still are, very strong school music programs in Montana. I started playing in Missoula. In the 5th grade is when I started playing French horn, the very first wind instrument that I played, and I was not at all serious about it until about 8th grade. We moved again to Billings, and I actually wanted to quit playing. And my mother is fortunately a very smart person. And she said, no, you can't quit now. You have to go to your new school, try the music program there and see if you like it. And then next summer, you have to take private lessons. And then if you still want to quit, you can quit. And before I made it through that summer, I had decided that it's what I wanted to do with my life. So before 9th grade is when I got serious and started practicing 3 to 4 hours a day. And then I went to Northwestern. I went to the Summer Institute at Northwestern between my junior and senior years of high school, and met the horn teacher that I then knew I wanted to go to Chicago and study with. And I went there and had 4 fantastic years studying with Richard Oldberg, the 3rd hornist of the Chicago Symphony. And then I went on to DePaul University and did my master's there. In Billings, which is where I got serious about music, We had very, very strong school music programs, but there wasn't a youth orchestra that combined. There was two high schools, both of which had full symphony orchestras. The wind players met before school one day and after school one day. The string players met as a class. And we had a pretty darn good orchestra director, Mr. Payne, and we did pretty good repertoire, real repertoire. But there was no youth orchestra. But my junior year, I started playing with the Billings Symphony, which is a semi-professional community orchestra, and gave me some strong experience. And actually, my nephew Caleb, I was the third hornist of the Billings Symphony then, and my nephew Caleb is the third horn of the Billings Symphony now. So we have a legacy. Von Williams' Fantasia on a theme of Thomas Tallis, I would have put on the list of pieces that I wanted to take to the deserted island with me. It is, I think, a piece of such great emotional range. And the combination of this antique theme put into this early 20th century harmonic structure. So you start from just this germ of this theme that is old, and at the beginning the piece feels calm and settled and old, and then with two orchestras playing contrapuntally and soloists, you end up with this incredibly thrilling, lush, romantic setting of this beautiful old theme. And I just think that combination of the old and the new in the hands of a master orchestrator like Von Williams, there's nothing better. Of course, you can't argue with Mozart.
Do you enjoy Mozart?
I love the Mozart symphonies. Some of the most thrilling moments of my career have been playing Mozart symphonies. When I was in college, a book came out by one of the big conductors of that generation, Eric Leinsdorf, called The Composer's Advocate. And his thesis was that the conductor's job is to be the advocate for the composer. And I read the book, and there's some great things in the book. But even at the time, and more strongly just about every year since, my thinking has been, if the conductor is the composer's advocate, who is the audience's advocate? And so I really feel that my position is I want to be the audience's advocate. I want to build programs that are interesting and engage a given audience, not a generic audience, not a Viennese audience, but an audience in a place. And then I want to deliver those programs in ways that are engaging and captivating, that lead to understanding of the music. The way that music is most often presented to audiences these days is, here's the piece, enjoy. Hope you get it. And the second way that it's often presented is, so-and-so composed this in such and such year, and they were friends of so-and-so. And for some people, that might provide some context and some connection, but that still leaves a lot of people out. So I think it's important to provide some context for the piece, some analysis that has meaning, that leads to understanding, and some emotional attachment. That's, I think, the important things. And I think that the reason that classical music has been struggling is that we have not been doing that, and I think the realization is coming. You can still get away with the old way in the big cities, in Chicago, in New York, in San Francisco. There's enough people who understand it and will come. They can still get away with kind of doing things the same old way. Mm-hmm. But in Sacramento and Marysville, Yuba City, and Grass Valley, we can't. The simple fact is that someone who plays is likely to go to concerts. Someone who never played, the odds are substantial, all the studies show, substantially less likely. And it can even playing recorder, actually, in elementary school, makes a difference. I lead a nonprofit called Vita Academy that is devoted to renewing classical music as a vital force in our society. And we pursue a three-pronged agenda, one of which is helping to restore music programs in schools. So we have particularly partnered with the community of Esparto in rural Yolo County, and last year the Esparto School Board approved an allocation to support our programs, and it's the first time since 1978 that there has been a line item in an Esparto school district funding budget for music education at the elementary school. And I count that as one of the great accomplishments of the last 10 years. And the community is truly transformed. Now, one of the things I often say about Yuba City and Marysville is that they have maintained some strong music programs in the schools. I think that's my impression compared to just about anywhere else. And now, thanks to some, people moving in and layering on to that school music program, I think that's the important thing, is that it can't be an either or.
Right.
Like I grew up where I only had school music programs. A youth orchestra would have been an incredible enhancement to my early training. But boy, the places where there are youth orchestras and not school music programs, it's tough. I conducted the first concert of the Yuba Sutter Youth Orchestra. Ingrid Gaston contacted me, and I still remember that concert very well. And it felt so important to me. It's like, the first concert of a new youth orchestra. What an incredible moment for a community. A concert has to be a three-part conversation. You have the composer, you have the performers, and you have the audience. And it doesn't exist without the audience. And it's there for the audience. And a successful concert should in some way change an audience. Something should be different about them when they leave than when they arrive. And I think this is a program that can accomplish that. The Von Williams is just a piece of profound depth that one could say asks and answers the questions we can't think of to ask. Or at least it asks them or answers them. Maybe it does both. But it's contemplating those questions. And that is where music can go. And even the great philosophers often recognize this, that there are these topics that are beyond language. And the greatest music brings us to the contemplation of those, and through that changes us.